everybody, it's Benny One, and I'm back at you with another X-Men movie review, and today we're reviewing one of my favorite X-Men movies, probably in my top 2 or 3, X-Men Days of Futures Past, everybody. Yes, Bryan Singer came back to the X-Men franchise, and he was on fire with this movie, in my opinion. I love this movie. Like I said, this is one of my favorite X-Men movies. I'd probably put this right up there with like Logan and X2, and then I don't know how I would honestly put them. I think when I ranked these movies in the past, I had this movie at first, actually, in first place. I love this movie. For one, this takes one of the most iconic storylines in X-Men comics that they've ever done, like the Dark Phoenix, and then this is the Days of Futures Past storyline, where Kitty goes back in time in the comic books to go into the past to fix a very, very horrible future for our mutant characters, everybody. So this movie takes that comic book storyline and adapts it for a live-action movie with what we've already gotten and has been established in this X-Men movie franchise. So in this movie, Wolverine is the one that goes back in time instead of Kitty. Kitty is the one that actually sends him back in time, but because he's the only one that can physically handle it because of his healing abilities. So, but yeah, so basically the movie starts off in the future, the not too distant future, but it's set in the future. They don't say exactly when, but and the mutants are basically being hunted down by these new crazy high-tech Sentinels that can adapt to their powers and everything. They're crazy looking. They look like metallic metal. They almost look like the T-1000 or something. So they're basically on the run. They're being like eradicated by these Sentinels basically. So, and they finally decide, because we have all of our old returning cast members in this movie, along with our new younger characters that were in X-Men First Class, which is another reason why I love this movie. So in the future, we have all of our old cast members come back. I mean, we get everybody. We get Xavier back, we get Magneto, we get Logan, we get freaking Iceman, we get Kitty, we get Colossus, we get some new people like Bishop, Storm's back. Like, we get a lot of the characters that were in the other X-Men movies that started this all out come back to this franchise in this movie. And they'd have their little plan to send Logan back to the past in the 70s to fix a mistake that Mystique did back in the 70s when she shot Trask, everybody, who is played by Peter Dinklage, everybody. That is right. I love me some Peter Dinklage. So yeah. So then we go to the past, basically, and Logan is sent to the past in the 70s, and he wakes up and he's got his bone claws and everything because he doesn't have his adamantium yet. So, and he was told by Xavier and Magneto that he needs to go find both of them, and they need to all work together to try and stop Mystique from killing Trask, because that's the events that set everything in role and in place for what would happen to them in the future. So that's ultimately the goal, is stopping that from happening. And Xavier and Magneto were at very different places when they go into the past. Xavier does not have his powers. He's not crippled anymore because Hank made him this drug that suppresses their abilities, kind of like the one in First Class. But he tweaked it a little bit, and Hank uses it too to basically hide the way he looks. But Xavier uses it like it's a drug, and they show that. They really show James McAvoy's Xavier in this movie struggling, like he's got a drug addiction with this kind of cure in a way. Like, they really show it and represent it like he's got a drug addiction with this stuff, because Hank even says he takes way too much of it and it takes his abilities away. So, and he's a hot mess. And then Michael Fassbender's Magneto is literally in a prison underground in the middle of the Pentagon because they said that he's the one that killed JFK. And we later find out in the movie that in a really cool scene, actually, where they're on an airplane, where Hank, Xavier, Magneto, and Logan are all in a plane together when they finally all come together. And man, Xavier and Magneto have a heated discussion with each other, and that's where we learn that he didn't actually kill JFK. He was trying to move the bullet before they stopped him, and he was gonna save JFK because he's like, JFK was one of us, James. Like, you know, he was one of us. And they have this heated conversation on an airplane where Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy are, I would say, one of their best scenes together in any of these X-Men movies that they did. They did 4 of them too, so awesome shit. Because Eric starts taking the plane down and everything. It gets crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's the gist of the story for the most part. And a lot of our cast members from the First Class movie come back for this one. We also get introduced to the Quicksilver of the X-Men franchise, which this version of Quicksilver compared to the one that was in Age of Ultron, way better. Leaps and bounds better. And the scene with him in the Pentagon, classic. You can't beat it. It's one of the best scenes in the entire movie. That whole sequence with him at the Pentagon, him and Logan and Magneto and Xavier, awesome stuff. Peter did an amazing job playing Quicksilver, and I'm happy that he was in freaking Apocalypse, and then he got to be in Dark Phoenix. Like, it was really cool that we got to see this version of Quicksilver, because this is more of what Quicksilver is supposed to be, because he's the child of Magneto, and so is Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, which, who knows if the MCU is going to go down that route. I hope they do, honestly. I really do. I hope they figure out some way to connect it, but we're talking about the X-Men right now. Yeah, this movie is awesome, you guys. It's got great action. The whole time travel thing in the X-Men lore, phenomenal. Awesome stuff. I love that the old cast gets to mix and mingle with this new cast of X-Men. Logan going back and interacting with these 2 younger versions of Magneto and Xavier is awesome because of the little cameo that he had in X-Men First Class. Because Magneto and Xavier, when they're recruiting people, they go to a bar, and Logan literally just straight up tells them, he's like, fuck off, like, before they can even introduce themselves. So, and Xavier actually mentions that to him. He's like, I do know you, and I remember what you said to me, and he's like, I'm gonna say it to you too. Fuck off. Like, it's just, Xavier's a hot mess in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence is back as Mystique, and she does a great job. They actually show her as Mystique like we're used to, where it's just her body, the blue scaly looking body, Mystique. Like, she actually resembles the Mystique that was in the original X-Men trilogy in this movie. And then in the next couple movies, they kind of, we'll talk about that. But yeah, the 70s setting is done so well. They captured and recreated the 70s so well. And like I said, when the old cast gets to mingle with the new cast, like when McAvoy's Xavier, through Logan's brain, goes back to talk to himself in the future to get to see what's going on. Like, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie. Great action, great characters, like intermingling with each other in the past and the future, the present, yada yada. This movie also fixes a bunch of shit that X-Men 3 The Last Stand did. They recorrect a bunch of shit, like bringing Cyclops back, Jean come back. I love the ending of the movie. Because it, it fixes everything. So Logan wakes up in the Xavier mansion at the school, and he's a teacher, and everyone's there. Everything's kosher, happy. This is a great movie. It's one of my favorite X-Men movies, you guys. So I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10, everybody. I love this movie, you guys. 9 out of 10 for X-Men Days of Futures Past, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching, and I'll be catching you on tube later because I have spoken.